Hi guys, I'm back. This is going to be kind of an interesting video. It's about my life and things associated with the supernatural, where it really began, and just putting some things together. And it's a weird subject for me, and there's some things that I'm going to talk about that make me really uncomfortable. So if you want to grab some popcorn, get ready. Here we go. Now, all this stuff began when my sister and I were moved to a new foster home. And that was the very last home we'd live in growing up. So, it was a pretty big deal. And I remember going down the driveway, little tiny gravel driveway with lots of these potholes, and we were in a truck in the front of the truck, and then with a camper on the back. So it was like boom, 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 and washing all over the place. And at the end of the driveway, there was this little shack, and it was like old and leaning, and I thought, oh great, this is where we're gonna live. But then there was a sharp turn to the left, and there was this house, and it was a remodeled, built-on home. And so the first part of the house, which is the kitchen and a bedroom and a little living room area, and then it was built on to an upstairs and a downstairs. And, it kind of looked like the Brady house or whatever. But when we first stopped, I looked up at the house, and unbeknownst to me at the time, I saw like the curtains open like this and somebody look out. And I said, is someone here? And my mom said, no, we're all here. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. I was 6 years old, so, I didn't really think much about it. I hadn't really had any, huge experiences dealing with spiritual beings. And it was kind of funny, too, because right when we got onto the property, I felt this doom. And I just chalked it up to as, we're here, now what, But I really think after, the years of, my friends coming over, they wouldn't like it there. Even the parents would say, there's something off with this house, this property. And they felt the same thing, too, crossing over, it was like a barrier or something that crossed over when you first got on the property. And that was all around the property. It was just really just heavy, oppressive. And that's what Satan's spirit is. It's very oppressive, controlling, and all the fruits of, the evil, murder, jealousy, anger, strife. Anyway, we rolled into that, and it was a very strange house. I mean, I've talked about this house before. There was always, seeing shadows, darker than dark, and knocks on the walls and scratches from inside the walls and strange things. And one time my sister was sleeping, and she had her arm over the bed, over the mattress, and so it's kind of near the floor, and something grabbed her and started pulling her to the floor and underneath the bed. And she was screaming, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do. The light was all the way across the room, so I just jumped off and I switched on the light, and she was halfway under the bed. And she's just panicked. And there was actually a mark of something grabbing, holding on to her. And that was kind of the very first time that I thought of evil spirits. And then my brother got into witchcraft really bad. At first he was really nice to us, and you know, he played with us and we played together and, you know, kind of like buddies. But then he started getting into this Ouija board, and his personality changed. He was just angry all the time and just not right, you know, and he would isolate himself a lot, and he wanted nothing to do with me and my sister. So it was really weird. And then by the time he had gotten into high school, and we weren't into high school yet, but he had really gotten that he hated us. It was more me than my sister, but it was such an unnatural hate. Like, even his friends would say, dude, why do you hate her so much, you know? And he never had like a reason at all. So they were like puzzled too. And I think it was this spirit, these dark entities, and even my mom saw it. So I know that, you know, a lot of like my friends and stuff feeling that weirdness and everything. But then to confuse everything, these gray beings, these UFOs, came flying over our house one afternoon. My parents were gone, and my older brothers and sisters. It was just my dad's son and me and my sister. I think really that it has a lot to do with the end time deception, and maybe this is why me and my sister were put there. Not only that, but my dad was into witchcraft, and I'm sure he taught his son that because he became very fluent in it, and how he was able to persuade people. See, that's another thing with people in Satanism and things like that. They're able to cast these types of influencing spirits, and it's like it's a charisma that only Satan could give. This is how he was able to get people to follow him. And now, you know, in the first Earth Age, I mean, he was very charismatic. And so, like now, but this spirit, this darkness, this oppression is going to get a lot thicker as we go on. And the reason why I'm saying all this now is for you to watch out for things. Watch people, because I mean, right now there's a little bit of this ash falling down, but it's gonna get super thick like a blizzard. And you know, we're not, I mean, this is just the sin of the world per se, but it's coming into phases. And that's how you'll be able to watch these people as they change. There was also this hypocrisy with my dad. Like, I'm just the best Christian in the world, and I'm just better than anybody else. See, when somebody starts saying that they're better than you and that you can't do anything right, and that's another spirit of Satan. And it seems like just narcissism has just spread. I mean, it's everywhere now. It used to be, you'd pop in to your work and, you'd only have like maybe one kind of person like that. But now it's like your bosses and all this, like the corporations, and it's just, it's everywhere. I mean, you go on YouTube and you can find hundreds of videos on narcissism. So anyway, that's another thing, and I've noticed, like, with this targeting, that these people seem to be really fluffed up, like, I'm just so much better. They're getting paid to do this, but it would take a certain kind of person to do that, to follow women and children, and to do the atrocities that they do. And I'm wondering, like, with the angels haven't fallen yet, but there are spirits out here. So I'm wondering if, like, these alien beings are the fallen angels, not the fallen angels, but the spirits. And I don't know, I'm still kind of wondering about that. I had a subscriber who asked me a question about what they were, and even though I touched one, I examined it, it was a body. Whether they're doing experiments now and creating these bodies for these evil spirits, because they can come into you if you allow it. So I don't know, I'm thinking, I don't know if anybody else has had an experience or anything like that with these alien beings and have seen the spaceships and the men in black. I mean, I saw it all. I think I was shown to try and figure it out. Another way how these evil spirits get to you is through dreams. For example, with me, I started getting like spider dreams. And this is how my sister, how I had figured out that my sister is going to die in a year, because the day that it started to the end, and I don't know. All I can tell you about these dreams is I had a dream about being like frozen, stuck, could not move at all, but all of these spiders were crawling up around me and just encasing me. And also in one of my other dreams, it was like I was pulled up into one of these UFO spaceships, and I was put on a slab, and I could not move. I couldn't even talk. So the similarities between these kinds of dreams, not being able to move or talk or scream, and having to call out the name of Jesus to get out. Because when I was in the dream with the spaceship, I thought everything would just disappear, but I didn't. I went back down and I bounced when I hit the bed. Boom. And so I'm just saying, is it real or is it not? And this deception is just going to get, thicker. So we got to figure this stuff out, Now, this is kind of embarrassing, and I don't like to talk about it, but I think it's important to. I was like in the 9th grade, and my mom had just moved to a new house, and it was after the divorce was finalized. So there was just so much bad stuff going on, and there was no stability, nothing. So I'm just gonna say it. I had trusted God for so long, and then just all this new stuff along with the old stuff. And I just said, God, you know what? If you can't help me, then I'm going to go to the devil. And I got into witchcraft, not really knowing how I got into it. It's just like I knew how to do stuff. And I think it was just all part of living out at my dad's house and being around witches. My sister became a witch at one time. She was in 7th grade, and this new girl, out in the boonies, people come and go, but then you have your regulars. But Loretta came in to her life, and she was telling me all about how Loretta became instantly popular, and she cast all these spells and everything. So my sister was really deep into it too, and a lot of things changed about her personality, and I don't know if that helped her. We were kind of already popular, but she wanted to become like famous, I think. I don't know. It's kind of a wish for a lot of people, but with that, it kind of turned on her. And then it really turned on me because of my brother, and he was into witchcraft. But anyway, so I was, in the 9th grade, and I decided it's just like I knew how to do stuff. And I had been doing it for like a couple weeks. I'm like waiting for something to happen. And nothing happened. And I'm like, oh, well, this, maybe I'm not doing something right. Or maybe I'm just, maybe this isn't real. But I knew it was. And after I had said that, I'm just like, and I went to bed that night and turned out the light, and I was about to fall asleep, and I got this very dark kind of feeling, this really like creepy, and I looking around my room, and then I saw the cloaked being that I had seen in my dad's house, and he was coming towards me, very, very slowly, and there was another one standing by the door. So it's like, what is this? As it came closer and closer, I didn't know what it was. I think it was trying to possess me or something. But anyway, it was looking down at me as I'm looking up at it, and I'm just like, what do I do? So I just jumped from my bed to the light switch, and I looked up, and that other being was looking down. I saw like it was faceless, but it had a really long face, and it was like these eyes just penetrating, and it had the black cloak on and everything, and I'm just like, I quickly said, forgive me, Father. I turned on the light, and it was gone. Well, I didn't know how to cleanse the house at all. I renounced, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't worth it. I'm sorry. But then after that, lots of other weird stuff started happening. In that house, I started getting the knocks and the scratching, and I know that my sister had already like practiced witchcraft in there too, but this got really intense, and it wasn't as bad as my dad's house, but it was scary to be in that house alone, and I was in there a lot alone because I'd come back from school and, you know, I didn't have a job at the time, so I was, you know, kind of sitting there alone, and my sister, you know, she was, you know, out with her friends and things like that. But, I kind of wanted to go back to the targeting and where that could have, I think it, in like the military. The military is very involved in witchcraft. My dad was in the Air Force, and he was very heavily into it. And now they have satanic priests and things like that. So I'm thinking that the targeting, because I think I really first started getting targeted heavily when at that last home, my adopted home. And my sister was too. Because one time my dad took my sister to this zoo, and he said, you know, don't look right now, but there's witches that are following us. And she's like, what? You know, and he told her to go into the bathroom just to test it, but not stay in there, but just walk in there and come back out. Well, they all followed her in there, and she's like, whoa. And now with the targeting, I mean, it just, they have all these ways of watching, ways of knowing, and I know a lot of it is technology. I used to get, I mean, I still do, like, people walking up to me and going, hi, Christine. You know, it's like, who are you? You know, it's like, And now we're getting to the good part where tribulation is going to be starting pretty soon. And the war, the Civil War. How is all that going to work, and how are they going to watch their targets? My dad said that he always, every night, talked to this bald white guy at the foot of his bed. And he'd always tell him exactly what I was doing. Why? Why? You know? That's the thing. And he called him, that was Jesus. And I'm like, that's not Jesus. So, I mean, it's just going to get so thick now. And I'm trying to correlate all these things, that the aliens, these weird hybrids, and also, what about like the army for Armageddon per se? I mean, there's like millions that, you know, that he couldn't like count. It was so many. This army going up against God when he returns, you know. I just think we have to really watch what we're doing now. I was able to cleanse my house after learning how to properly do it. And I was able to get the evil spirit that was already in here, but I may have had spirits following me too. This house was known in the neighborhood as the haunted house. So I'm just saying, when you don't know, like past sins and things, they're forgiven, but you have to add knowledge, continuing education. And the thing of it is, yeah, I repented from it, but I wasn't protected. And I know now, like with the weird targeting and stuff, it's like, how, I mean, with all this mind control, I mean, this is like a worldwide thing, targeting. I think everybody is targeted, but I think the awake people, and that's their problem now, because people are waking up to it. And that's why, like with the men in black, they threaten you. If you ever say anything, we're gonna you're gonna kill your parents and blah 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 blah. Well, it's kind of the same thing that they're doing, except for they're just using their weaponry and their weird theater tactics, and I think it just all correlates together. And I think that, like, the aliens are just the part of the army, the hybrid army, because it's going to be just like the time of Noah. I mean, I'm sure there were giants, huge giants. That was the result between the flesh woman and the angelic being. Giants. And, you can, go back into history and all the myths and things like that of these different creatures. I just, I think that maybe they got some, I don't know, maybe they put these creatures together and they filled them up with evil spirits. I don't know, guys. But I'm telling you, it all correlates together. And as the oppression gets thicker, and you'll notice it, and you'll notice people who aren't like protected really under God's wing. If you're not protected that way, you're going to be heavily influenced by this, because I was heavily influenced and I didn't even know it, and I wasn't aware. And so, learning what's in the Bible, because really that's a handbook to get through all this. If you aren't close to God, I mean, you can say you're a Christian, and a lot of people do, but they don't know the power of God, and they don't know the power of Satan. And that makes a really bad mix, because you might think, that God is creating all this terrible stuff in your life, when it's not. Absolutely not. He wants good for you. He wants to bless you. So, anyway, I'm just saying, I hope I will get more out on this, but I think it's a heavy topic, and it's just something that is going to just keep coming at us. And you have to be strong. You have to know where your enemy is and why. Why all this stuff. So, I don't know. I put a little story time in here. I added a little bit of knowledge, but I I hope people comment and tell me their experiences, and let me know, you know, if they got into witchcraft, if, you know, how it affected them, and any kind of weird alien stories or anything. I'm telling you guys, I've had the weirdest life experience ever and been shown so many things, kind of like Enoch. So, and life is gonna get a lot stranger, so it's better to like figure it out now, or at least have some idea. And I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I don't know. But if we put our heads together, and I think we'll find out and we'll be better prepared. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.